Hello and welcome to the Make Money with Mace podcast. I'm your host Mace, and we're going to be talking some Week 12 NFL. And let's just get right into it. We've got 3 Thanksgiving Day games, and I'm going to have a bet out on all 3 of them. First one, Green Bay Packers at Detroit Lions. They last played in Week 4 or 3. I'm having a hard time remembering which one it is. But it was September 28th. A Thursday night game in which the Lions beat them 34-20. But what was incredibly notable about that game was that the Lions were up 27-3 at halftime. So all that points being scored by the Packers was in garbage time. And the reason why I say that's so notable is because Detroit is coming in as a 7.5 point favorite. Obviously, they played pretty poorly against the Bears, and Green Bay's coming off a win, so the mindset is like, oh, Green Bay's not playing that bad. Detroit's not playing as well as they were in the past. But I think Detroit is going to really flex this game. I think I don't think Detroit's offense can play as poorly as it did against the Bears, which Goff threw 3 interceptions, and he wasn't very good, and they still managed to win that game. So I think, and Justin Fields is pretty dynamic. He's hard to contain when he's running the ball well, so that's something to be concerned. Not something to be it is something to be considered. Where Green Bay does not have anyone truly dynamic on offense besides Jayden Reed, and Jayden Reed is no DJ Moore, and Jordan Love is not Justin Fields in terms of running with the ball and causing problems that way. So I think that's something. A big difference in that game. And just by DVOA rankings and everything, Detroit is 14th in special teams. That's their worst spot. They're 5th in offense, 10th in defense, 14th in special teams. The Packers are, one second, finding them. Yeah, the Packers are 19th in offense, 24th in defense, 31st in special teams. So just in terms of like scope of play, Detroit is so much better than Green Bay. And Detroit's run defense is really pretty. I'm so tired. Detroit's rushing offense is incredibly good, ranking 4th by DVOA, and the Packers' run defense is really pretty bad, ranking 20th. So take all of that into account. I think we're going to see Detroit dominate on Thanksgiving. I know that there's a cycles of the moon thing where Detroit hasn't won based on the cycle of the moon, but these Dan Campbell Detroit teams are a different breed in terms of like how good they are, what they do, all that good stuff. So I think we're going to see a really good game by the Detroit Lions and them covering against Green Bay. And that's one of my picks. Next game, Washington and Dallas. So everything I said about DVOA just amped that up a little bit, right? Where the Cowboys they rank 6th in DVOA. 10th in offense, 3rd in defense, 8th in special teams. The Commanders are 27th overall, 22nd in offense, 30th in defense, 20th in special teams. Cowboys at home against a bad team. They love nothing more than absolutely thrashing bad teams at home. It's what they do, and I expect that to continue. I know I'm torn on Howell because he's closer to Jameis than he is like a true franchise guy where he makes really exciting plays. And instead of turning the ball over, he gets sacked a billion times over and over and over again. And sacks are an offensive line stat until they're a quarterback stat, if that makes sense. Where if the quarterback has held onto the ball for more than 2.5 seconds, then the sack is on the quarterback. If the quarterback, or potentially wide receiver, but if the quarterback is getting sacked in less than 2.5 seconds, I think that's an offensive line stat. And Howell holds onto the ball longer than anybody else. So I really think that with the way Dallas's defense has been playing, with everything in mind, home game for them, they play like an old school BCS college football team where they're just trying to win by as many points as possible for whatever reason. So with all that being said, I think the Cowboys, I know the number's huge, but they've been doing it all year. 12.5 is there. I think taking it is worthwhile just because the Cowboys offense has not been as good as it's been in years past under McCarthy, but the defense for the Commanders has been so bad that I really think they will light it up against them, especially outside in the corners and CeeDee Lamb, the way they move him around the field. So I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game. So yeah, that's what I've got in Washington, Dallas. Dallas covering that 12.5. Next game, San Fran at Seattle. San Fran's a 7-point favorite, so touchdown favorite for the push, or touchdown for a push, rather. Not a touchdown favorite for the push. A touchdown win would get your money back, nothing more. So, want to see them win by at least 8, and I think they'll do it because this is based off of like when pre-Jimmy G and like there was like Nick Mullins playing quarterback for the Niners, and it was I had the thought that Seattle always did well against San Fran, but that probably also dates back to like Jim Harbaugh. And just all of that being the case, I think San Fran, the DVOA thing is not as drastic as it is for San Fran versus Seattle. Seattle's actually really pretty average. And I think that an average team going against San Fran, well, it'd be one thing if Geno were healthy and Kenneth Walker were healthy and all that, but when you're missing Geno and you're missing Kenneth Walker, I think your life is you won't even be missing Geno necessarily, but he's going to be hobbled. I think the life for the Seahawks is going to be significantly harder against the Niners, just because Trent Williams and Debo make everything go for the Niners, and I expect them to continue to make it go. And a huge thing is that the Niners have actually beaten the NFC West, like NFC West teams, 9 straight times in the regular season, and 10 out of the last 11 if you want to count postseason, with their last loss being against the Rams in 2021. That early 2022 in January, the NFC title game. So with all that being the case, I think San Fran just sort of takes it. 7 feels easy. I think that McCaffrey's going to score a touchdown, and if Geno is out, Drew Lock, I don't know what to expect from him. Nothing particularly good, because he obviously did not beat out Geno. That's not taking too much away from Geno Smith, who's had a pretty remarkable career revival, but it's just the fact that Geno's been pretty mediocre this year. He's not been as good as he was last year, but he still hasn't been like terrible. I think Drew Lock not really being able to sniff the field is pretty indicative of where he's at as a player right now. So that's what I'm feeling in this game. San Fran by the touchdown, and continuing my trend of loving favorites. I really do like Miami at New York. I know it's going to be cold in the Northeast. The offense doesn't run as well, yada, yada, yada. Tim Boyle is making the start for the New York Jets, and God knows how good he'll actually be. God knows how good the offense will look. The offensive line's still really bad. The Miami defense has been able to show that they can play well against bad offense, so I expect that to continue. But I have no idea how the Miami offense is going to do, and 10 points is a lot, but it's 10 points against the Jets, who are starting Tim Boyle, who's not being able to sniff an NFL field. And with that being the case, I think Miami's just better than the Jets, and it's hard to be like, oh, I'm not going to take them in a spread or take them in a money line, whatever the case may be. But I think Miami is just significantly better than the Jets are, and the defense must be tired at this point. That's part of it. The defense has got to be tired, so that's a big aspect to all of this on Black Friday. But with Miami being just significantly better, regardless of weather, regardless of where they're playing, I think that the Jets will struggle to do anything offensively, and Miami will probably cover this game. So that's what I'm thinking. And then we get to the game of the week, I think. Jacksonville at Houston. Houston actually opened as a 1-point favorite. The line has since moved to Jacksonville being a 1.5-point favorite, and I agree with that. I know that Houston beat them 37-20, and you had the crazy special teams touchdown and things like that in Jacksonville. And Jacksonville has struggled with Houston just in general. Even pre-Trevor, all that stuff. It's just been a hard game for them to win year in, year out. And Houston's been playing really well. They couldn't be riding higher. Jacksonville's defense is really good, and they're playing much better than they were earlier in the year. And I think that It's hard to bet. It's hard to bet on Jacksonville just because of how inconsistent they've been. But something I will likely bet on is the total in this game. The total is sitting at 48.5, and I could see this game getting really pretty high scoring. I mean, the last game they played was 37-20. So I think that this game is going to be really high scoring. I think we're going to see lots of offense. I think that Jacksonville's defense is going to be tested. I think Houston's offense will be able to get the ball moving. I don't know if we'll see fluky special teams touchdowns, but I think we'll see quite a few points on the board between Stroud and Lawrence just sort of playing ball. Two good quarterbacks going up against each other. So should be a really fun game. Going to be rooting for points in this one. Tampa Bay at Indy. Indy is like knocking on the door of playoff contention, but I don't know if they'll be able to do anything. They're like a feisty, fun team. You're happy that they're playing the game itself. This is a bit of a mid-off. I mean, the Colts are 17th in DVOA. Tampa Bay is 19th in DVOA. And it's like where Indy, they're just mediocre. So is Tampa. I don't know. It's a weird game. Probably going to stay away. Don't know if I'll have a bet on it. I know that the Indy's over-under streak has really come to a halt. They started off 5-0, I believe. Now they're 6-4. Tampa Bay does love going under. And Tampa Bay has actually been a really good against the spread team, 7-3 overall, despite their 4-6 record. And so is Indy, 6-4 against the spread. And yeah, Indy's a what? Yeah, Indy's a 2.5-point favorite. So these are two pretty average teams facing each other, and it's going to be hard to predict an outcome. So I don't know if I'll be betting on it, but who knows? It should be a decently fun game. The over-under is at 44. So if you expect this game to be at least 24-20, which you might want to, I think that'll be the case. Next game, grossest game on the slate. We've got the Patriots at the Giants. The over-under is 34 for those involved. For those wanting to know, the Patriots are 3-point favorites or 3.5-point favorites, depending on where you're betting, and they shouldn't be. They really shouldn't be. I know I'm a Patriots fan. I've said lots of things like online, whatever the case may be. I'm gonna write something about at some point I'm gonna write something about how the Patriots are where they are. And how I'm just fed up with the fan base just in general. I think the fan base is incredibly frustrating to be a part of right now because despite having watched so much football, there's not a lot of intelligent football thought happening whatsoever. Mac Jones is playing horribly, and Bill Belichick has done a horrible job constructing the roster and then assembling a coaching staff to coach said roster, including himself. And all of it's wrong. And there's this idea that, if you hold the thought that Mac Jones was broken by Bill Belichick, then he's absolved of all poor play, when that's just simply not the case. You still have to be able to... Truly great quarterbacks would still be flashing more and would not be having, the terrible throw he's had. But to sort of abdicate Belichick of responsibility by just going Mac stinks when Belichick has been the worst GM in football for the past decade, and arguably the worst coach in the division and one of the worst coaches in the AFC for, I'd say, 3 years now. It's hard to sort of exist in this Boston sports world where it's just hard to exist in this Boston sports world right now where it's just, what's one or the other? It's one or the other. No, it's the whole operation. Belichick's been terrible, and Mac has not acquitted himself well whatsoever through all this terrible nonsense. So I do think Mac will actually be successful elsewhere if he's able to. I think he'll be able to revive his career, and with that career revival, I think Mac will do well for himself. He'll be like Baker Mayfield. But that sort of has nothing to do with the game. So the Giants have a stable quarterback situation. And the way you talk about the NBA, when you've got bad teams, sometimes you just have to look at the way you talk about the NBA, where it's just this guy, the best player's on this team, then the second best player's on this team. The best player on the field, the two best players on the field at any given point in this Patriots-Giants game are going to both be Giants players. Saquon is the best player on the Giants offense, and he's better than any individual Patriots defender at this point. And Dexter Lawrence is a monster. Dexter Lawrence is arguably the best defensive player in football. He's the nose tackle for the Giants. And Dexter Lawrence is the second best player. And then if you really want, is a toss-up between Kayvon Thibodeau and Christian Barmore for third best player. So the Giants do have more talent. It's just obviously their offensive line is a joke. It's such a terrible, terrible offensive line. But I think that there's Belichick's just playing stupid games with the quarterback situation, so you don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be. If it's Mac Jones, the Patriots are likely to win this game, I think, and the line is reflecting that's likely going to be Mac Jones. But if it's Bailey Zappi or Will Grier, the Giants are going to win. like it's not even particularly close to me. Like, thinking about it, the Giants are a more cohesive football team at this point, and I think Daboll's a better coach at this point in his career than Bill Belichick is. I think that he probably has a better staff overall with like Mike Kafka as the OC, and I like Wink Martindale as a defensive coordinator. I do think that Steve Belichick and Gerard Mayo do a good job scheming it up, so I'm not too concerned on that front. And with them doing a good job scheming it up, I think it's going to be, the under's going to hit. Don't worry about that. 34 is low, but it's not like impossibly low for these two teams. So with all that being said, the Giants are a really good money line bet. There are dogs everywhere, 3.5 point. They're at New York. The Patriots are a disaster. They just are. Like, it's just the aura about the Patriots. It's like, oh, it's still Belichick. He'll have something. He hasn't been a good coach since. Well, part of his not being a good coach is his inability to create a staff, which, forget about scheme, forget about all that for a second. He has not been able to assemble a coaching staff that is adequate in the NFL. Vinny Cincinnati, who is a former Alabama safety who never played an NFL snap, is the running backs coach. And then you've got... I'm back. Had to get up for a second. You guys won't notice the pause, but there was one. And we're talking New England Patriots, New York Giants, and the Giants are a better team. Maybe not necessarily talent-wise, but I think that their coaching staff is definitely better. I think that they're more cohesive. They're a better team right now. You know, they're not playing games with the starting quarterback. They have an identity on defense with how they blitz. And actually, I haven't been terrible on defense this year. Offense has been the problem. And offense is it's more of a personnel problem rather than a scheme problem. And obviously, Daniel Jones being out with the ACL injury and Tyrod getting hurt. But Tommy DeVito was able to play a good game against a bad defense, which is, you know, that's encouraging. Like, he's not horrible. He's potentially all right. So, with him being potentially all right, I think that will be a really, really good thing for them. So, yeah, all that being said, I think Giants money line is looking pretty juicy, and get it while you can, right? It's plus 150 at DraftKings, plus 144 at FanDuel, so get it where you can at this point, especially if Mac Jones isn't starting. Next game, Carolina Panthers at Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans are a 3.5 point favorite. They're bad. Carolina's bad. I don't know about this one. It's under 36.5, so you want to be in the unders club with the Giants and the Patriots and the Titans and the Panthers. Go for it. For DVOA aspects, it's like, you know, no aspect of either of these teams is any good. So make of that what you will. Carolina's got a good special team, so gotta give them credit for that. But on the whole, both teams aren't particularly great. So I'm going to suggest staying away from this game. It's going to be weird, and it's late in the season, and you don't really know what's going to go on. Maybe get a throwback Derrick Henry game. Maybe Carolina puts it together offensively against a pretty bad Tennessee secondary. So who knows? I sure don't. I think it's going to be a pretty bad game. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Pittsburgh's a 1-point favorite. They should be favored. I think Cincy without Joe Burrow is going to be tough. But Cincy might have some fight. I know this is the quarterback's name, Jake Browning, something Browning. I want to say he went to Washington. Cincy, QB. Joe Burrow got hurt. Who is the backup? Jake Browning. Jake Browning. One second. Jake Browning. I want to say Washington for whatever reason. I want to say Washington. Yeah, Washington Huskies. There we go. All right. Some ball being known. So yeah. Jake Browning is obviously the backup, and who knows what he'll be able to give you. Probably something relatively decent, like not horrible. So with that being said, it is Pittsburgh firing their offensive coordinator. Might see something different. This is really this is another weird game. It really is. Since his defense is really pretty good, obviously the weapons are really good. There's just no Joe Burrow to get them the ball. Who knows how Browning will play with the way the offensive line situation is, and with the offensive line situation being as poor as it is, I think it's not going to be too surprising if Pittsburgh just smothers them and TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith have crazy games, and you just see one of those sort of games where Pittsburgh's defense is really doing it, and since he can't really move the ball, so I think that'll be the case in this one. The under is 35.5 for those interested. I'm not particularly interested in it because it could just clear. It really could. I could see 20-17 being the final score of this game really easily, as easily as I could see like 13-10 or 20-10 or, so I think that's just too low of a number to really put anything on it. Derek Carr and his hobbled, boring self going to be playing at Atlanta. Both teams coming off a bye. I have zero thoughts on this game besides my fantasy implications if Kyle Pitts does well. This is so weird. Atlanta's so weird. New Orleans is so weird. They're completely unpredictable. They both hate each other, and this is a game I could see like either team winning by it could be 38-30 or it could be 6-3 for all we know. So I'm staying away. It should be relatively entertaining. I like the matchup. I like the rivalry. The fan bases hate each other, so it should be fun in that regard. But good Lord, I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. So yeah, we're speaking. And we're going to move on, but yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. I'm not particularly invested either way. I mean, the Falcons are a pretty bad DVOA team. They're 29th overall, and the Saints are 18th overall, but a lot of that's their defense and special teams really carrying the water there. Atlanta's defense has been pretty mediocre, like bad, actually. They're 26th, 20th in special teams, 25th in offense. It's just a bad situation in Atlanta right now, and it has everything to do with the quarterback play. So if I don't know what Heineke's health situation is, but Desmond Ridder is truly the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. Opening day starter, I should say. He's been the worst opening day starting quarterback in the NFL. And with that being the case, I have no idea what to expect from him. Like, maybe he will be better. I don't know. I do not know. So we go into the 4 p.m. games. Los Angeles Rams at Arizona Cardinals. So this is an interesting game. It opened with the Rams as a 1.5-point favorite. It's now moved to Arizona -1. And I think it's a weird game, right? Because I don't think Cooper Kupp's playing. But the Rams with Matthew Stafford are just an objectively solid football team. And the Cardinals with Kyler Murray are an objectively solid football team. And the issues that both these teams have, like Arizona DVOA-wise, obviously is going to look a lot worse. I mean, their offense has jumped up since Kyler's come back, even with these 2 games, being ranked 27th. The defense is still really pretty bad at 31st, and their special teams ranks 13th, which is really pretty good. So you look at the Rams, they're 20th in DVOA, which is obviously better. 13th in offense, 23rd in defense, 32nd in special teams, right? So, and the Rams are incredibly inexperienced. They're I think they're the second youngest team in the NFL, and Matt Stafford is really sort of skewing that. And I think that Stafford to Nacua and the way McVay schemes it up should be able to handle what Arizona's doing. I just don't know I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, honestly. It might be Aaron Donald wrecks the game for Arizona, and Arizona's not able to get anything done, but I really think this game might be pretty high-scoring. I think the over-under is 44.5, and I could see that clearing really pretty easily. Should be a fun game. Two decent quarterbacks and some, not decent rosters, but the quarterbacks can elevate against two bad defenses. So I'm expecting points. It should be a fun game. I don't know if it's going to be a best bet game, but I'm expecting some points, and that should be fun in and of itself. Next game, Cleveland Browns, 1.5 point dogs at the Denver Broncos. DTR is starting, and Denver has turned it around. They gave up 70 points. That will forever hold their DVOA back significantly. Especially defensively. They will rank 32nd until they're no longer 32nd, but they've been playing much better ball as of late. They truly have. I think weighted-wise, I want to take a look at their weighted rank. So weight in term, includes who you've played against, all that stuff. And I want to see, where is it? Yeah, I am looking for their variance rank. Okay, this is what I want to see. 28th. So they are inconsistent because early on in the season, they truly were a terrible defense, right? They made the Bears look good. They made the Commanders look good. They obviously gave up 70. But since they gave up 70, and since that game against the Bears, they have played much better football defensively. That coincides with Baron Browning coming back and Justin Simmons being healthy and Kareem Jackson being suspended. So all those positive factors have gone their way. And I think that I don't know if their season numbers will ever be able to recover from the game they had, obviously, in September. But I think that Denver just isn't that bad of a team. Russell Wilson's playing good ball. Courtland Sutton's playing good ball. Jerry Jeudy's doing good. And they're trying to make a playoff push. It's a real thing. Their offense is playing really pretty well. I want to take a look at their offensive DVOA. Yeah, they're ranked 15th in offense, 3rd in special teams. They've got it together. Sean Payton runs a clean operation. And I think Denver is just a better team than Cleveland is at this point. And obviously Cleveland's defense is incredible, but the offense is bad, obviously. Even with Deshaun Watson, it was bad. And then they're mediocre in special teams. So you have a team that is really pulling in the right direction and is cohesive and isn't particularly bad anywhere on the field against a team that is incredibly unit dependent. And with that unit being the defense, they have the propensity to get tired as the season goes along and fall apart. I do think that this game being played in Mile High will make a difference. Mile High is obviously famously difficult to play in. And that's a very real home field advantage. So be on the lookout for that. I think Denver's going to win this game. I think they're potentially best bet worthy at 1.5 point favorites right now. And I know money line's probably not too good, right? Money line will be minus 122. I might just take them straight up. Minus 122 is not that different from minus 110. So I'm going to take a look at that one. And obviously not the game of the day, because the game of the day is Jacksonville-Houston. Expecting a really fun game there. We've got a game I'm very confident in, one side of the ball for sure. Buffalo at Philly. We learned nothing from the Bills when they faced the Jets. There was nothing to be learned in that game. What we learned was that the Jets are really, really bad. Just a not good football team. Buffalo had a couple splash plays. The defense did its thing against a bad team, and I think that is much different than Philadelphia being really good, coming off a huge win. A lot of people are treating it almost like a college thing, where it's like, oh, coming off a huge win, emotional win, all that stuff. Buffalo does not have the horses to hang with Philly. Defensively, they just don't at this point. Offensively, they could, but they'd have to score a lot of points. But Philly could just play ball control if they want, and even if they don't need to play even if they don't play ball control, even if it is something like, they hit a shot play to AJ Brown, the shot play to Devonta Smith. I think that Philly will be able to stop Buffalo's. I think Philly will be able to do whatever they want against Buffalo's defense, where Buffalo will need to score every time they have the ball to be competitive in this game. I think Philly's defense will be able to provide more stops between Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis just wrecking the game, and Hassan Reddick doing his thing. Josh Sweat doing his thing. Josh Sweat's sneaky been an excellent football player this year. So I think Josh Sweat and the pass rush and from the exterior will push them up to, when you have an exterior pass rush that's able to play contain and there's no pocket to step into because Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and old man Fletcher Cox have really destroyed the pocket. So it's like they break the they collapse the pocket, and then they force Allen to either his right or to his left. And at that point, Allen is going to be caught by or have to shake off Hassan Reddick or Josh Sweat. I think it just is really difficult. And because of Buffalo's receiver situation, Philly will be able to bracket Stephon Diggs and double team Stephon Diggs wherever he goes. So I think that Philly is a much better team than Buffalo. 3.5 points is a little disrespectful, honestly. That's just standard home field advantage, and Buffalo is not that good. I know DVOA and everything says they're good, and all their advanced numbers say they're good. But they've been not good this year. Their offense and everything, it's the Brett Coleman video all over again. I'm going to link it again when I post the blog, and it says that I'm betting on the Eagles. I'm going to post a blog about Buffalo's offense and how it's not actually all that good. And it's inconsistent, and you don't know what you're going to get from it. And when you have an inconsistent, don't know what you're going to get from an offense where it's either boom or bust every single time they have the ball and there's no consistency in their drives, against a team that is the model of consistency in drives and will hang in a game, and win the game. I mean, give me that team. Give me the team that's made it to the conference title game. Give me a team that can go into Arrowhead and have a comeback victory. Philadelphia is just much more impressive. And with Philadelphia being much more impressive, I mean, minus 175, that's a little rich for a money line bet. I think for 3.5, give it to me. Next game, Kansas City at Las Vegas. Kansas City is going to kill them. I think it's going to be a get-right game. I'm not going to bet on them, but you might want to. I do think this is a better. I think that Kansas City is just significantly better. I think Spagnuolo is going to cook up a great defensive game plan. I think Kansas City just has to do just enough offensively, and the Raiders' defense has been playing much better of late, and Max Crosby is a game wrecker, and the Chiefs' tackle situation is not good. But there's always going to be a pocket to step up into with, Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith. Those guys are incredible, so Kansas City's offense will be able to function even if they're not having a great day throwing the ball. They will be able to run the ball with Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon, Clyde Edwards, like whoever they want to have running the ball, they'll be able to have success, especially up the middle. So I think Kansas City ends up winning this game. 8.5 is quite a few for them right now. They've done a poor job covering, obviously, this year, so not expecting a ton. Last game. This game's hysterical. I don't know why Baltimore's only a 3.5 point favorite. They should be like a touchdown favorite. Baltimore is so much better than the Chargers are. The Chargers rank 14th in DVOA because their offense and special teams have been great. The offense is incredible, undeniably so. Herbert's been playing out of his gourd these past couple of weeks. Just unbelievable games in Green Bay and against Detroit. And both times the defense let him down against Detroit and his receivers let him down against Green Bay. The Chargers are they're the Chargers, They're 4-6 when they really should be 6-4. Or even better than that, or even better. Their defense is terrible. They rank 29th 26th against the run. Excuse me. 26th against the. They're 29th overall. They're 26th against the run. Am I looking at weighted? Why is this so funky? It is total rank. Weight. Yep. Okay, so last week they were 1, total rank 4. Okay, so it is the weighted I'm looking at, I believe. Yeah, so 26th against the pass, 26th against the run. That is good for 29th overall. Bad unit, bad team. Not a lot of good going on. And with all that being said, especially like the rushing, offensively, obviously the Ravens are not known for their passing attack, except they're eighth they're the eighth best passing offense in football this year, and they're the number one rushing ranked offense in football this year. So I think that Tyler Linderbaum, and he's a playmaking center. He is Jason Kelce-esque. Tyler Linderbaum is going to maul in the middle, and the guards and tackles are going to follow suit. Gus Edwards is going to run for 1 billion yards. Keaton Mitchell might bust a big one. Lamar Jackson, if he's not hobbled, will be able to run, and all that running will be able to create really good play action opportunities. He'll be able to create openings in the passing game, and I guess a defense that struggles inherently. So they struggle inherently, and now they're facing an offense that's really dynamic and gets you moving in all directions. I know Mark Andrews being hurt and potentially being able to come back for the playoffs is a big deal. But him being hurt does affect their offense tremendously, but that's why they drafted Zay Flowers. Odell Beckham's looking good. And Isaiah Likely is a really pretty solid tight end. I'm a huge fan of his, and I think that he's a really good player, and I think he'll be able to show that he is a really pretty good, really pretty great player. So, all of that being said, I really am thinking that the Ravens end up winning this game by a lot. I think 3.5 is crazy low for this game. I know Herbert's been playing really well, but the Ravens defense is really, really good. They're coming off of like a mini bye after playing a Thursday night game, and the Chargers are the Chargers. Like, I can't trust a defense that badly in any sort of spreads, even as a dog. So I'm going with the Ravens for sure. Last game, Monday night. Bears at Vikings. This game sucks. This game's so bad. What's the 43? Sure. Monday night is going to be, I don't care. I'm going to find something to bet on for Monday night for sure. But it's not. I have no real interest in this game. Gonna take a look at some college games. Obviously, we've got a really awesome slate. Lots of Friday games. Oregon State, Oregon. Going to be taking that one. Going to take the over in that one. 62.5. Both these teams are awesome. I love the Civil War. Oregon State, obviously, last year, ruining Oregon's season. That was awesome. Oregon has been really good this year. Troy Franklin's a beast. Bucky Irving's a beast. Bo Nix isn't. Don't get tricked. Bo Nix is bad. He's really, really bad. Do not get tricked. But yeah, I do think, last year, Bo Nix is not that good at all. But last year, Oregon State obviously wins, and that was without DJ Uiagalelei. But I think Oregon, it'll be a fun game. Probably just take the over. Hopefully it's not driving rain, so some actual points are going to be scored, because both these teams can absolutely put it on you. And then we get to the actual, that game's fun. Penn State, Michigan State. That might be a nice Penn State. One last cover for the road. One last James Franklin cover. Iowa, Nebraska. The over-under is 26. What? Oh my God. Game of the century. Oh my goodness. 26. That's incredible. I can't wait. 26. Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to bet that. TCU, Oklahoma. Oklahoma should get it done. Texas Tech. Texas should get it done. Penn State should get it done. Mizzou should get it done. Miami and BC are playing. That's a fun, nostalgic matchup. And then obviously the big game of the day. There's a few huge games, but the biggest one, noon kickoff, Ohio State, Michigan. Should be a fun game. I'm going to take the under. It's at 46. Both these teams are uber talented defensively, and J.J. McCarthy is not good. Luke McCord, I don't think, is very good either. Or Kyle McCord, rather. I am with both of them not being particularly good, and the really, truly only dynamic player being Marvin Harrison Jr., like the true game breaker, true all that, not offensive line dependent, all that stuff, is Marvin Harrison Jr. So if anything were to break away offensively, it would be through him. Then we got Kentucky, Louisville. That should be awesome. Massive game for Louisville. Then we got Pitt, Duke. Not that great. Texas A&M, LSU. Should be lots of points. Should be, if you like Jaden Daniels, you'll like this game. Then we got UConn and UMass. Not a great one. Colorado, Utah. Utah's 22 and a big favorite. Shedeur status is up in the air. Got the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. That might be a fun Big Ten West under. With Wisconsin, Minnesota, Maryland, Rutgers. Should be a fun game. Maryland's a 1-point favorite. Vanderbilt, Tennessee. That's whatever. Arizona State. Going to be on my America's team betting Arizona on that one. That's going to be one of the best bets. Washington State, the Apple Cup. Should be a really fun game. Washington's probably going to win, but I like that the game's happening. Notre Dame and Stanford. Notre Dame's a huge favorite, as they should be. Georgia Tech. Georgia's only 24-point favorite. I know they haven't been the best at covering spreads lately, but I think they'll be able to get it done. Kansas playing Cincy. That should be a fun one. UNC, NC State, over under 55. NC State is like Iowa. NC State is like the Iowa of the ACC. 35 points is a lot for them, and they did that against Virginia Tech. North Carolina, obviously they lost to Clemson last week, but they beat Duke 47-45. I think that their defense is bad enough that NC State will score points, but obviously NC State's defense is really pretty dang good. So, going to be a fun week. I love college football. It's obviously the finale. Going to throw out a lot more games. Auburn, Alabama is happening, Iron Bowl. So, going to have a really big Saturday slate, and going to try to hit every conference and just have something really fun going on for the last college football Saturday. So let's have a fun weekend, and thanks for listening. Like and share. One last thing before you like and share. NBA bets are going well. 6-3 to start the season. Knocking on wood right now to continue that trend. Doing a little bit of everything. Over-unders, PRAs, and spreads. So all of them have done pretty well, and just going to keep going, and should be a fun season coming up. And that will be all. Thank you everybody for listening. Like and share, all that good stuff, and peace. Thank you.